Imagine the scene. The salty air is thick with anticipation, the creak of wooden planks echoing beneath the boots of men who have staked their lives on a dream. The horizon is endless, shrouded in morning mist as the ship cuts through unknown waters. It's 1492. Christopher Columbus, a Genoese sailor with bold ambitions, stands on the deck of the Santa Maria. He's convinced that by sailing west, he can reach the riches of the East, spices, silks, and gold, faster than any known route. His eyes scan the waves, searching for signs of land, driven by a vision that few others share. Suddenly he spots land, a world entirely new to Europeans. With a sense of triumph, he claims it for Spain, not for any Italian state. Mine Sion, mine dun duns, planting the Spanish flag on unfamiliar soil. This Italian-led discovery ignites the age of exploration, launching the European colonization of the Americas and altering the course of history forever. The world will never be the same. But here's the paradox. If an Italian opened the door to this new world, why is there no new Rome in Mexico, no Italian colonies dotting the Americas? Why did the legacy of Rome not cross the Atlantic? Across the continent you'll find the marks of Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English empires, grand cathedrals, colonial plazas, and languages that still echo today. But the Italian footprint is conspicuously absent. The man who started it all came from Italy. Yet, his homeland gained nothing from his daring journey. Columbus's name is remembered, but his country's influence is missing from the New World. Why? The answer lies in the Italy of Columbus's time, a land divided into dozens of city-states, each fiercely independent, each with its own rulers, armies, and ambitions. There was no unified Italian nation to back a grand overseas adventure. Their focus was the Mediterranean, dominating trade routes, banking, art, and culture. Their wealth and energy were invested close to home, not in distant, risky conquests across the ocean. While Columbus sought support for his risky voyage, Italian city-states were preoccupied with rivalries, commerce, and the flourishing Renaissance. The idea of building a new society across the Atlantic simply wasn't on their agenda. Proposals for transatlantic exploration were met with skepticism or indifference. The risks seemed too great, the rewards too uncertain. And that's the key to the mystery of the missing Italian empire. Italy's fragmented politics and Mediterranean focus meant that, even as an Italian changed the world, his homeland watched from the sidelines, leaving the new world to others. In the 15th and 16th centuries, Italy was just a collection of rival city-states: Venice, Genoa, Florence, each powerful, but only in their own region. Venice and Genoa fought over Mediterranean trade. Florence focused on art and banking. There was no single Italian ruler, no unified government to pool resources for overseas adventures. Their wealth came from being Europe's middlemen, trading spices and silks from the east. The Mediterranean was their world. The Atlantic was a risky, unknown frontier. Why chase uncertain riches across a terrifying ocean when they already dominated the most lucrative trade routes? Their fleets, fortunes, and politics were tied to the Mediterranean. The Atlantic seemed like a fool's errand to pragmatic Italian merchants. Their gaze was fixed east, not west. And so, the idea of colonizing the Americas never took root. Meanwhile, on the Iberian Peninsula, a remarkable transformation was underway, one that would change the course of world history. Spain and Portugal, once a patchwork of feuding kingdoms and territories, were unifying into powerful, centralized nation-states, each with a growing sense of national identity and ambition. The marriage of Isabella and Ferdinand was a turning point. Their union created a strong, centralized Spain, fresh from the triumph of the Reconquista, with a monarchy that commanded loyalty and inspired a shared sense of purpose among its people. This newfound unity and confidence allowed them to take bold risks, like funding the audacious voyage of Christopher Columbus, who promised a new route to the riches of Asia. Meanwhile, Portugal was forging its own path, sending caravels down Africa's coast, driven by a mix of national ambition, religious zeal, and a hunger for discovery and trade. Italian explorers, visionaries like Columbus, Cabot, and Vespucci, had the dreams and the skills, but not the support they needed at home. The Italian city-states, despite their wealth and sophistication, were too fragmented, too cautious, and too focused on local rivalries to back such risky ventures across the ocean. So, these ambitious Italians looked elsewhere, sailing under foreign flags and seeking support from monarchies willing to gamble on the unknown. eager to expand their influence and wealth. Spain and Portugal, shaped by centuries of warfare and conquest, saw expansion as a natural extension of their identity, a way to continue their legacy of glory and dominance. For them, conquering new lands and claiming distant territories was simply the next chapter in their long history of triumph. For Italian merchants, however, the idea of conquest and overseas empire was foreign. Trade and commerce were their focus, not colonization. This fundamental difference in mindset between the bold, unified kingdoms of the West and the cautious, divided city-states of Italy made all the difference in shaping the future. The Atlantic empires and the riches of the New World would belong to the unified, ambitious kingdoms, not the divided Italian states left behind. And so, as the age of exploration dawned, Italy watched from the sidelines, its moment in the sun eclipsed by the rise of Spain and Portugal. Italian elites were bankers, merchants, and diplomats, not conquerors. The Medici built power through finance, not armies. Their investments were calculated, with clear risks and returns, trading with Alexandria, not gambling on unknown continents. Funding a voyage across the Atlantic was seen as reckless speculation. Even the Papal States were preoccupied with European politics and religious crises, not overseas expansion. While Spain melted Aztec gold, Italians financed European wars and colonial ventures from afar. They profited as the bankers of the age of exploration, without ever planting a flag. For them, real power was in controlling money, not land. Influence came through commerce, not conquest. Building an empire required massive ongoing investment, forts, settlements, navies, armies. Italian navies, built for the Mediterranean, weren't suited for the Atlantic's challenges. Diverting resources to build an Atlantic fleet would have left them vulnerable to real threats, like the Ottomans. Colonization was violent and costly, demanding a military culture Italy lacked. Italian city-states preferred mercenaries for local wars, not standing armies for distant conquests. Their culture valued profit, through trade, not conquest. They built commercial empires of trading posts, not sprawling colonies. The idea of ruling vast new lands was foreign to their way of thinking. Their influence was through business, not force. And that made them ill-suited for the brutal reality of American colonization. As the Atlantic Ocean emerged as the new center of global trade, the once mighty Italian city-states began to decline. Their bustling ports, which had thrived for centuries on Mediterranean commerce, suddenly found themselves sidelined by the shifting tides of history. Their centuries-old monopoly over Mediterranean trade was shattered as daring explorers charted new sea routes that bypassed Italy entirely, connecting Europe directly to the riches of the Americas and Asia. Italy soon became a battleground for powerful foreign empires, with its fragmented states losing both independence and prosperity. The peninsula was carved up, its people caught between rival ambitions. By the time Italy finally unified in 1861, after centuries of division and foreign domination, the golden age of colonial empires was already drawing to a close. The Americas, along with vast territories in Africa and Asia, had already been claimed by other European powers. The world's most lucrative lands were no longer up for grabs. Eager to catch up, Italy launched its own colonial ventures, establishing footholds in Africa, Eritrea, Somalia, and Libya, hoping to join the ranks of the great empires. Italy even attempted to conquer Ethiopia, but these campaigns proved costly, difficult, and ultimately brought little reward or lasting influence. For Italy, its African colonies became more about national prestige and the appearance of power than about genuine profit or sustainable growth. In comparison, the vast and wealthy empires of Spain and Portugal, built centuries earlier, made Italy's brief colonial history seem insignificant and fleeting. The window for a truly global Italian empire had closed long before Italy was ready. The opportunity had slipped away, and Italy's moment on the world stage had passed. Arriving late to the race for empire, Italy was left with little to gain and much to regret, its ambitions forever overshadowed by earlier powers. The dream of empire remained just out of reach, a distant vision, fading with the setting sun over Italy's storied shores. Italy never built an American empire, but Italians still shaped the New World as immigrants. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, millions left Italy for the Americas, seeking opportunity. They arrived not as conquerors, but as workers, building railroads, farming, and starting new lives. Italian communities transformed cities from New York to Buenos Aires to São Paulo. Their culture, food, and traditions became woven into the fabric of these nations. In Argentina, Italian influence is everywhere, from language to cuisine. In Brazil, Italians helped build the coffee economy in cities. In the US, they brought pizza, pasta, and a strong work ethic. This migration was a cultural conquest, not a military one. Italians changed the Americas from the ground up through sweat, sacrifice, and community. Their legacy is found in everyday life, not in colonial rule. Italy's absence from the colonial map is a fascinating what-if, but history played out as it did for clear reasons: fragmentation, focus on trade, and a culture of commerce over conquest. The Atlantic empires went to Spain and Portugal, yet Italy's legacy in the Americas is profound, written by millions of ordinary people, not by viceroys. The continent itself is named after an Italian, Amerigo Vespucci. Italian influence is found in food, language, and culture across the Americas. True power isn't just about territory, it's about ideas, art, and people. Italy's mark is an empire of flavors, families, and hard work. Sometimes the greatest influence comes not from conquest, but from the stories and spirit of those who journeyed far from home. And that legacy, in its own way, is just as powerful, and perhaps even more beautiful.